What's up guys, this is Ty, the Asian Wonder, your online personal trainer again. In this video, I want to answer some frequently asked questions I get about muscle fibers, muscle development, muscle gain, and fat loss that deals with all the muscle fiber information here that I just shared with you guys in the previous videos. And I have some very common questions. The first question I get all the time is, can you change the endurance fibers into fast twitch fibers, into the speed and strength fibers? And the question to this is, according to the research that most scientists have done, and the research that I've done, is that if you have hit, it's very critical. There's a stage after you hit puberty already, for male and female, the fibers will not change to the others. And no matter what I've seen people say, I've tested it, like I said, on hundreds of prisoners already, and I haven't seen anybody yet that was able to change, as an adult that has already gone past puberty already, been able to change the endurance fibers into the strength and speed fibers. It doesn't. Whatever you were born with, that's it. Now, there's a caveat to that, and I started to notice this when I started training the younger prisoners that just came from the boot camps and stuff, that were still teenagers, that were 16, 17, 18, and 19 years old, and some even as 20 years old. I realized that the growth caps and the growth plates in their body have not finished growing because they have not completed the puberty cycle yet. And what I mean by that is that the growth plates are the plates that's in your joints. Now, I'm 5'10½", and I'm not going to grow any taller than that because the growth plates in my joints have told my body, my DNA, to stop growing beyond that. And so genetically, this is how tall I am. I'm not going to grow any taller. I'm not going to be 6 foot tall. I'm not going to be 6'5", because that's as far as it can grow. Because genetically, the DNA in my body has told me to stop growing once it gets to that point. And it's the same way for the endurance and the strength fibers. Once your body produces a certain amount of strength fibers and a certain amount of endurance fibers, it stops after puberty. However, I noticed that when I was training all the teenagers that were in the boot camps, the ones that have not completed puberty yet, I noticed that they could change from having the endurance fibers into the strength fibers. And I know that to be true because I was able to consistently, it didn't matter if they were black, white, Hispanic, Mexican, Asian, I was able to get every one of them to a very consistent strength level, so that you couldn't say that the black guys, the black juvenile delinquents were stronger than the Mexicans or the Asians. They were all consistently the same. All of them, if they trained, they followed my program, they were all able to produce a consistent result. And when I say consistent results, what I mean by that is that if all the black guys that I trained that had 16-inch arms can curl 125 pounds for bicep curls, then all the Mexican guys and all the Asian guys and all the white guys would be able to do the exact same thing too. If they all had 16-inch arms, they were all able to consistently curl the same amount of weight. And that's very important for you guys to understand that, so that some of you guys out there that think that, oh, race is an issue, that you know, because this guy's black, he can be stronger than I am, or because I'm Asian, I'm weaker than another. That is not true before you finish puberty. However, after you finish puberty, and a year or two after you finish puberty, then that does become true. The ones that have more fast twitch fibers and strength fibers are going to be consistently faster and stronger than the guys that do not have the same amount of fast twitch and slow twitch, the same amount of fast twitch and strength fibers, okay? So I hope that answers that question. Another common question that I get about the strength and the endurance fibers, guys, is I get the question that if somebody's 60, 70, or 80 years old, can they still develop their strength fibers? And a lot of trainers and a lot of people do not believe that a person can get any stronger or develop more muscle once they get into an age in their 70s and 80s, and that is not true at all. I have trained lots of people in their 70s and 80s that are still consistently able to grow muscle. Now, the only thing that would prevent them from growing the size of their strength fibers is if they have a testosterone issue. As long as the guy has normal testosterone levels for that age, and when I say normal, I mean that if somebody's 80 years old and they have normal healthy testosterone levels for an 80-year-old person, then they can still develop this. Now, however, if they have under levels of testosterone in their body that's producing their testicles and in their brain, right? Then they will not be able to grow it. However, they will not be able to grow the size of the fibers, but they can still increase the strength of the fibers. So I would not give up. If you were in your 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, I was able to consistently get those age groups to consistently get stronger and develop more muscle. Now, the only caveat to that is that it takes a little bit more time. It can still be done, but it takes a little bit more time. So I hope that answers your question of whether or not older people can still develop muscles. Another frequently asked question that I normally get is that regards to the type 2A and type 2B muscle fibers. Now the type 2A fibers and type 2B fibers lay right here in between the border of where the endurance crosses over into the strength fibers, and they lay right around here. And some say that the type they can be converted. Some of them they can be converted over to the other, right? And I don't really pay attention to that because out of the hundreds of prisoners that I trained in the past and did research on, it was not significant enough for me to pay attention to. It's like I said before in the previous question, and the answer I gave you guys earlier is that if someone has gone past puberty already, then the growth plates have stopped, and the DNA and the genetics have told us that we cannot convert this to the other again. And I know that there's research out there that shows that you can convert some of the 2A or 2B fibers into the other, right? But it's not significant enough for me to pay attention to, and it was not significant enough in the decade that I trained and tested on the prisoners for me to believe that it's worth paying attention to. Because if you just train at the high intensity levels with the correct rep range and train it safely and do it correctly and have the proper nutrition, you'll get more results than trying to convert the muscle fibers over. Another very common question that I get is that can growth hormones increase the quantity of strength fibers? And the answer to that is yes, it can. I told you guys earlier that whenever you finish puberty that you cannot increase the quantity. The size can always be increased, guys. The size of the strength fibers can always be increased. The thing that we're talking about is the quantity, the number of fibers. So basically, if you only have 4 strength fibers in your muscle group, I'm just using it as an example, there's millions of fibers in each muscle. But let's just say that you only have 4. Can anything be done to increase the quantity so that there's 8 or more or double or triple the quantity that you have, right? And the answer to that is yes, it can be done. It can be done with growth hormones, but I don't recommend that, guys. Growth hormones are extremely expensive. They're extremely dangerous, in my opinion, because not only do they increase the quantity of muscle fibers that's in your body, but it also increases everything else in your body. Your liver gets bigger, your heart gets bigger, so everything increases in volume. And it's very dangerous because there's not, I have not seen enough research on this to be able to give you guys a safe answer on that. And the guys that I saw that were smuggling growth hormones into the prison and that were doing it, everything grew on them. Not only the muscles, but the size of their skull, the size of their hands, everything started to expand and they grew taller and everything. So I don't recommend that because I don't know what the ramifications are and how dangerous it is on the human heart, the liver, the organs, the pancreas, the kidneys, if everything just starts growing, okay? So I don't recommend that. But the answer to that is yes, it can be done. And especially when somebody's taking the growth hormones before puberty or going through the puberty stage, it increases it even more drastically. And you guys hear this at home and you guys is probably thinking, whoa, let me go and get some of this. I do not recommend it, guys, because it has very, very drastic effects, okay? So don't use it. Another common question that I get, guys, is can the use of steroids or testosterone shots increase the quantity, the number of fibers, the quantity of fibers, of the strength fibers that we have? And the answer to that is that I would say that it's no. The answer to that would be no, because I haven't seen enough evidence of it, guys. I haven't seen enough evidence that steroids can increase the quantity of fibers. However, the steroids will increase the size of the fibers, and there's no doubt about that. And if anybody says that it doesn't increase the size of the fibers, they're nuts, because I've seen it so many times in the free world, out here at the gyms, and I've seen it with the prisoners that smuggle steroids into the prisons and were using it. It definitely increases the size of the fibers. However, it does not increase the quantity of the fibers. Another common question I get, guys, from women, especially from young girls, and girls that are trying to stay in shape is that their concern is that if they train too much of the strength fibers here, that they're going to get bulky and get muscular like guys, and then that they were not going to look feminine anymore. And this is not true, guys. I've trained lots of girls before, and there's no way that you're going to get arms my size from training, from any of the exercises that I share with you guys, or any exercise in the market. The only way that a woman can increase the size of their muscles, right, is that if they inject artificial testosterone or steroids into their body. So all these girls that you see that's in the magazines that's buffed up and it's muscular and they look like a bunch of men in there and they don't look like women anymore, it's only because they're injecting large quantities of testosterone into their bodies, and that's how they look like that. Otherwise, if you're just a regular high school, college girl and you're just trying to stay in shape and look pretty for the prom and look pretty to attract guys or whatever, or you're doing it just for athletic performance, there is no reason to be afraid that the strength fibers that you develop in your body is going to increase and get big and get bulky and get muscular and look like a football player or something. That is never going to happen. I've trained hundreds of women already, and I've never seen any of the girls that I've trained get big and bulky. Matter of fact, you watch any of my training videos where I'm training the girls on YouTube, they're exceptionally strong. Every athlete, every female athlete, and every female client I've ever trained in any gym has always been stronger than any of the girls in the gym, simply because I understood how to train the strength and the endurance fibers. Now, the advantage you also get from training the strength and speed fibers here, girls, is that it makes your muscles hard. Like if you go up to any of the girls that I've trained in the past that can squat 150, 180 pounds and stuff, and you go and you grab their thighs, it's rock solid. It's hard as a rock, okay? It doesn't get any bigger, but it will get. Now when I say that it doesn't get any bigger, guys, obviously it gets a little bit bigger, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you, the girls, that the muscles will get a little bit bigger. How much bigger? Just very little. It's just enough to notice that the girl works out. It's not gonna be enough so that you have arms like mine or some of the big guys in the gym, okay? So don't worry about that. Do your endurance training, train the endurance fibers so that you can burn the body fat, because I know every girl wants to look lean, and then train the strength fibers so that your muscles are toned. And remember, tone just means that the muscles are hard. It's not soft and squishy and mushy like a marshmallow, okay? So hopefully that answers your question and eliminates your concern about having muscles that look like you're a man, okay? Another common question I get is, can I do high reps, high intensity training by doing high reps? And the answer to that is no. You cannot do high intensity training by doing high reps. High intensity means that you're hitting the majority, the highest capacity of your muscles. So if you're training, if you can lift 100 pounds and you only train with 20 pounds, you are not training at high intensity. Remember, intensity in exercise and exertion level is two different things. If I'm sitting here going, and training hard and screaming and hollering at the gym, that does not mean I am training with high intensity. High intensity means that you're using the highest capacity of your muscle workload. Meaning that if you can lift 100 pounds, you better be training at 70, 85, 95% of your capacity. That constitutes high intensity, right? Doing 20 reps or 30 reps is not high intensity. Just because you're screaming and hollering at the gym while you're doing it does not make it high intensity. It just simply means that you're screaming and hollering while you're doing it, and you're looking like a fool at the gym while you're doing it. So that's not high intensity, folks. Understand that intensity level means the capacity of your muscle. How much of the capacity of your muscle are you utilizing? If you're not utilizing the full capacity of it or near the full capacity of it, you are not training at a high intensity level. So do not mistake the number of reps with the intensity level with the amount of effort that you're putting in to do it. Because I can do 90%, if I bench 90% of my max on the bench press, and even if I don't put all my effort to it, but I still do it, it's still considered high intensity training. However, if I do only 50 pounds on the bench press, and I just bench press the empty bar, for example, and I give it all I have and I scream and holler, that is not high intensity. It just means I'm being a knucklehead at the gym, okay? So keep that in mind, guys. Another common question I get, guys, at the gym is that people will see me train for 20 or 30 reps at a time, and they'll come and say, hey, I thought you told me not to train at the high reps, right? And that is very true, guys. I do not recommend training at the high reps, but here's what I do recommend using the high reps for. I do use the high reps when I come into the gym and I need to warm up myself or my athletes. I will do 20, 30, 40, 50 reps. Why? Because I know that the endurance fibers can transport and circulate the blood much faster than the strength fibers. So because of that, I will come in and for the first 15 or 20 minutes when I'm at the gym, I will do lots of reps. Lots and lots of reps. So for example, when I squat, I will squat 30, 40, 50 reps. Why? Just to get my heart rate going, get my lungs going, get my muscle warmed up and get the temperature elevated. And then after that, then I will go and then start training the strength fibers. So they have, although in all these videos, previous videos, I've explained the difference between the strength and the endurance fibers. I want you to understand that they do work together. You can use the endurance fibers to help increase the strength of the strength fibers, and you can use the strength fibers to help increase the endurance fibers. For example, I was able to help one of my marathon clients increase her speed, I think by almost 10 minutes one time. And it was simply because I did not get her to run more. I just got her to increase the strength and the speed so that towards the end there was times when she had a chance, she would increase the burst of her speed and increase and reduce the time that it took for her to finish the marathon. And it was only because I helped her increase her strength fibers. And I didn't do much for her endurance fibers other than show her how to rest and recover rapidly. So they do help each other, guys. So if you're someone that's playing football where you need to go there and hit a burst real quick, and then you need to walk back, you have 40, 45 seconds or a limited time to come back to the starting line and start all over again, then having a good endurance fiber system will also allow you to recover quickly. So just because you're looking to increase your strength, your size, your speed, and training these fibers only, that doesn't mean that you neglect the endurance fibers, because the endurance fibers allow you to have a longer duration to use the strength and the speed fibers. So hopefully that helps you out.